Hello, spooky crew. Our tote bag drawing is officially closed, and we just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who entered. We are so grateful for the love and the support, and we have loved reading your reviews. Missed the tote? No worries. We're still sending out high-quality vinyl stickers while supplies last. Just email us proof of your rating and review along with your mailing address to thespookydarlings@gmail.com, and we'll get one headed your way. Quick promise, your address is only for mailing the sticker. No emails, no selling info, no funny business, just spooky gratitude. Thanks again for supporting the show. You are the reason we do this. But before we start, did you guys know Chuck Norris died?
Oh, no.
I didn't think he could die.
That's why you kept writing Chuck Norris.
Yeah, and then crossing it out because I didn't want you to see it.
Yeah, I peeked.
Oh, Haley. Chuck Norris died. I didn't want to forget. But I'm going to bring us in now. You are listening to the Spooky Darlings. I'm Jeanette.
I'm Haley.
I'm Emily.
And welcome back to our Cryptid Crawl. If you're a regular listener, you know that we are working our way through this country state by state in alphabetical order, pulling the strangest and darkest stories from underneath the floorboards. And today, dear spooky listeners, we are in Louisiana, which is, I sang it beforehand, so I didn't have to sing it on the podcast. It is the 18th state, alphabetically. And Louisiana did not disappoint. Talk about a collection of cryptids. There were so many to choose from. So we are taking you into the bayous, into the swamps, into the cemeteries. Well, maybe. I don't know if we're actually going to all those places because I'm not completely sure what either of you are doing or where your cryptids are from. And we're taking you into what is known as the Bayou State, famous for its jazz music and colorful Mardi Gras celebrations. This state is both rife and ripe with Creole and Cajun culture, and we're excited to talk about it. And today we start in what I think are the swamps with Emily's cryptid. Am I right, Emily?
You are kind of right. So, let me tell you about the Rougarou of Louisiana. So, the Rougarou is spelled a few different ways. It can be Rougarou, or it can be Roux, like a roux, Garous.
Yeah, that's kind of the French way, right? Roux would be a French. And if we know anything about Louisiana, it's a French place.
I don't know if that's how French would pronounce Rougarou, but let me get to that. I do have a little bit of a French connection. There's also Rougaroo.
Ooh.
So, I mean, multiple ways to spell it. There's also Rougarou. So, it's pronounced Rougarou, and it is a legendary creature in Cajun and Creole culture.
I didn't even know before when I said that in part of my introduction.
And it is their version of a werewolf. And do we all know what Cajun versus Creole is? Because I felt fuzzy on it and I looked it up, and I won't share it with you guys if you already know.
But I actually don't. I would love it if you would share it. And I bet there's just some listeners that know and some that don't. So let's share it.
Probably a lot do. But I just wanted to make sure I understood. So Cajun versus Creole. And I found this answer on Reddit. So if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But, okay, the answer is all Cajuns are Creole.
Okay.
But not all Creoles are Cajun. Cajun are Creoles whose ancestors did a stopover in maritime Canada before they kicked us out. Creoles are Catholic people whose ancestry is from France or Spain and whose ancestors lived here before the Louisiana Purchase.
Oh,
and also African and Caribbean influences.
In both Cajun and Creole. In Creole.
Okay.
All I know is I have one bottle of spice rub in my cupboard that's named Creole seasoning and another one named Cajun seasoning.
I just know that Creole thing because when Jason and I went to New Orleans, we went on a food tour, and there was our food tour guide went into like a lot of the Acadian and like Creole origins.
Wow. Oh, that would be cool.
And
someday when we do our trip to New Orleans,
it's
we'll do it.
Fascinating. And so
yeah.
Just
Well, thanks for adding that, Haley. So the Rougarou is their version of a werewolf, and it is known as a trickster. So Rougarou is derived from the French word loup-garou, which loup means wolf in French, and garou is man who transforms into animal. And I think we touched on this in the
Beast of Gévaudan?
Beast, yes, in that episode. So loup-garou and rougarou are used interchangeably in some parts of southern Louisiana, where the French is stronger. I saw somewhere, and it made me laugh, that someone said they always thought that loup-garou and rougarou were onomatopoeia for a wolf howl, like Rougarou. But it is not. That's cute, but it does come from actual French words that mean wolf and man who transforms into animal. So in Creole and Cajun legends, the Rougarou is found in swamps, in sugarcane fields, and woodlands around Acadia.
Okay.
Which is Cajun country in Louisiana. Wait, Acadiana, right? Is it Acadia or Acadiana? It's Acadiana.
I do not know.
I'm not sure.
Email us if we're wrong, guys. We really need to know.
thespookydarlings@gmail.com.
Yes. So it's usually described as having a human body, muscly, hairy, and the head of a wolf or dog. Unlike a traditional werewolf, though, the Rougarou does not turn based on the full moon. This transformation from man to wolf happens when it needs to feed. So it roams in search of disobedient children who have wandered too far, or it can even snatch children from their beds if they have been misbehaving.
Oh, don't misbehave.
Yeah. One variation claims that the Rougarou will hunt down and kill Catholics who do not follow the rules of Lent.
Well,
Apparently, this is also a theme in the French Catholic loup-garou stories, but the French version, you have to break Lent 7 years in a row for it to turn you into a werewolf, which I think is hilarious because it sounds like somebody started with the breaking Lent 1 year, and then when it didn't turn people into werewolves, they were like, no, it's 2 years. Wait, 3 years, 4 years.
I mean, they have to take Lent seriously because they take Fat Tuesday so seriously. You can't have one without the other. Right?
So one version of the legend says that the Rougarou will be under the spell for 101 days, after which the curse transfers to the unlucky human from which the Rougarou draws blood. So the creature then becomes human again after feasting, transferring the curse to the next person, but this person is frail and sick and afraid to tell others for fear that they might be hunted.
Oh.
So, to keep the Rougarou away, you must place 13 small objects by your door, which works because the Rougarou mind is simple and it cannot count beyond 12. So.
Oh. Does it have 6 toes? Just kidding.
That's actually a great question, and I don't know how many toes it has. Probably. Wait, do dogs usually have 4?
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. Yeah.
Don't tell us if we're wrong, listeners. Let us have something.
Yeah, so 13, if they're counting by toe pads, that theory doesn't hold any water. But, oh wait, unless they have 3. Don't make me count.
Don't make me.
So,
I was actually just thinking feet. Like front feet. They would look at them.
In some stories, the Rougarou is not a wolf, but a rabbit. In others, the Rougarou is said to be derived from witchcraft. The claim being that the Rougarou can only be made by a witch, either by turning itself into one, the witch would turn itself into one for whatever purposes it needed, or where the witch curses with lycanthropy.
Okay. What do you call it? You wouldn't call it lycanthropy if it turned into a rabbit, though, because lycan is wolf.
Lycanthropy.
Those were two stories that were in the same paragraph but weren't related. So the rabbit part isn't on the witch thread. It's just like one story says it's a rabbit.
Fixated on the rabbit. I'm imagining if I had long bunny ears and how I'd probably just pet them all the time.
I should have just cut out the rabbit part, because just because somebody says it doesn't mean it's true. And it's all wolf stuff. I don't know why anybody threw in a rabbit part.
Let's leave it. Let's leave it, though, because it's interesting.
Okay, well, listen. Yes, fine. So I did take to Reddit to find to see if I could find any Rougarou stories. Mm-hmm. And I did find one user whose name is Lovely Cryptids.
Ooh.
Dogman, werewolf, Rougarou, encounter from when I was younger, seen in Louisiana.
Oh my gosh.
When I was around 7 to 8 years old and I took dance classes that sometimes ran into early night, my parents had picked me up and were going 60 to 75 miles an hour on the highway in my dad's truck. Not many cars were on the road. I was in the back seat, right side, watching the shadows from the street lights. I was bored and counting how many street lamps there were based on their shadow, since the lamps were on the left side. After one lamp, a shadow appeared of a dog-like creature on all fours. Like it had dog-like ears, but almost looked like what a person would look like on all fours. Mm-hmm. I remember being scared, as it looked quite large, and I was worried because I didn't know how it was keeping up with us. I tried looking at it directly by looking through the back window, but the bed of the truck blocked everything. It must have been really close. I'm not sure why I didn't tell my parents, but I think it was because I didn't want to take my eyes off it.
Yikes.
Anyway, I could see its running shadow pass by every lamppost shadow until at one point, it was like it ran off behind a lamppost, but just vanished.
Did they say the color? Did they say if it was dark or light colored?
It did not.
It almost sounds like a run-along. Do you guys remember? None of us did the run-along when we did Alabama Cryptids, but it was when we talked about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be a run-along. It said dog-like creature on all fours. Was the run-along a dog-like creature?
Well, yes, it was, and it ran along almost out of view, but kept pace with cars.
With dog-like ears?
Like run along beside you.
Could have been a run-along.
That's crazy.
Okay, well, the next one, just one more user story with a couple of comments.
Okay, yeah.
I live near a farm out in the state of Louisiana. I was walking on a path next to a cornfield, and I saw a dark, ominous creature in the corn. I pulled out my phone for a light, but my phone crashed. Is there any way the creature I saw has electromagnetic capabilities to control my phone?
Yes.
Whoa. No, but the government does.
So that was posted by user bdogmemei. And the first comment was from Corn Berserker Boy.
Okay.
And he asked, any details or notable physical features? And the original poster said it was mangy and its eyes were glowing, about 7 feet tall. It was on all fours.
Oh, okay. That's too tall to be... That is too tall to be a dog or a wolf, honestly. Even a wolf on hind legs wouldn't be 7 feet, would it?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Wolves can be huge.
Yeah.
So Corn Berserker Boy said, in that case, it was probably a Bigfoot or some kind of werewolf dog man. And then Dragon Cat 88 comes in and says, any physical characteristics that might help us out? Did it make any noise? I lived in Louisiana for about 5 years, and while I've never really seen anything I couldn't explain, eventually I've heard some pretty crazy shit, especially working mids.
Okay.
What kind of phone was it? A bit more location specification might help, or just a general description of the surrounding area that is not just near a cornfield.
Did you take a photo? If you did, please post the photo.
Are there bears there?
Certain things are more common in certain environments. Unless it was an alien, then it was already way too out of its environment for anyone on Earth to make a real difference, though they seem to prefer the Midwest.
I like this person.
Yeah,
I don't
me
know
too.
who this commenter is, but I would say that whoever that commenter was, I think that they're a real cryptozoologist, not a budding. I think they're a full-bloomed cryptozoologist. Okay, now tell me what OP said.
Yeah, well, if you're listening, Dragon Cat 88, if you're listening, Nettie believes in you.
I do.
Then the original poster, who, as we know, was bdogmemei, said, it made a low humming noise. It made a low humming, almost buzzing noise, and occasionally it would screech, almost as a way of communication. Where I saw it was Simpson, Louisiana, small town where everyone knows each other. I told the sheriff and he didn't believe me. Something is whack in the Midwest.
Something.
And then Astro Cunt said,
oh boy, that's a name.
with a K. Same thing happened to me when I tried to take a video of a UFO I saw. As soon as I opened the camera app, my phone screen glitched out and went dark. Shit's whack.
Yeah. These multidimensional.
And that's all I have for you about the Rougarou and some possible Rougarou or alien sightings
I love it.
in Louisiana.
But I'd say there's your answer. There's your answer to all the people that are like, if there's so many sightings of blah, 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 why isn't anyone getting pictures? This is why. They mess with the frequency. You can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it. There's like frequency. Have you ever tried to have you ever noticed like if you have a microwave cooking your food and you get your cell phone really close to it, it will kind of mess with it a little bit. It will mess with like if you're listening to something on your AirPods and you go stand by your microwave, it will mess with your phone. It will mess with the frequency going from your phone to your AirPods.
For some reason, standing near microwaves is actually incredibly stressful for me. I can't do it.
Don't do it. Stand
I
away
don't
from
stand
them.
near them.
The other thing,
Just while they're on or anytime?
While they're on.
while you're listening to that. Oh, you were asking Haley if it was stressful. Anytime.
I realized that it really stressed me out when Jason and I were watching Dairy Girls. And the family gets a microwave for the first time, and the mom is just sitting in front of the microwave in a chair, and she's like, "Wow, this is saving me so much time." And I just kept on being like, "Stop sitting in front of the microwave." Like it was really stressing me out that the mom was just sitting in front of the microwave, marveling how quickly it cooked her family food.
Well, it does not. All those waves do not stay in the box. They just do not.
I'm really glad you're okay after that experience watching
Thank
that.
you.
Haley.
Thank you.
Haley, that must have
It
been
was
stressful.
very stressful.
You need
Also,
to
thank you,
stop-
Dairy Girls. I love that show.
I was about to say, maybe you should stop watching Dairy Girls if it's going to stress you out.
I love Dairy Girls. Just the mom sitting in front of the microwave was
good.
so weird.
I love Dairy Girls. It was so good.
And then
Dairy Girls.
And then Jason kept on looking at me and being like, "I think you and my mom would have really gotten along." Because his mom kept their microwave in their garage because she didn't trust it.
Well, I kept mine in my pantry because I don't quite trust it. And I went I don't know if you remember, but I went 3 years without a microwave in my house.
Yeah, I do remember.
I mean, I did have one in the basement that I would use for emergencies in a different kitchen, but I went for a few years.
I remember.
Yeah, I do feel like there's microwaves mess with stuff.
My emotions.
And your food, it messes with it. It makes it hot. Okay. Emily, thank you for telling us about the Rougarou.
That was so much fun. And I love a short and sweet like cryptid, even though your cryptid was very tall.
That's right. Even though it was very tall, it was, I believe you said 7 feet tall.
One sighting. One possible sighting that could have been an alien or cryptid or werewolf.
Yeah.
Emily and Haley, I have a request from each of you. Emily, just to set the ambience, will you do like the sound with your voice, the sound of a single low sustained cello note? And then when she's done that for about 1 second, will you bring in some jazz music? And then when I start talking, fade out after about 5 seconds.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm not ready.
Okay. You can just do it with your mouth. Just a saxophone. You can't just,
Were you trying to look up? Oh, you wanted me to play cello music from
No,
my
I want you to do it with
phone?
your mouth. From your mouth.
This sounds stressful.
That's why I said from your mouth. Ready? Low
ready?
hum cello. And now you. I'll be taking you from the swamps to the heart of Louisiana's most historic city, New Orleans, right in the French Quarter, where there is a building on the corner of Ursuline and Royal Street in the heart of New Orleans. An old mansion, very grand, number 1039 Royal Street. If you were to walk by, you'd be tempted to stop and take a picture because it is very picturesque. It's beautiful. Red brick, black railings, black trim, red doors, big red double red doors right on the corner. It's a gorgeous home. Tourists photograph it every day. Many of them have no idea what happened there.
Are they a little put off by the woman singing a cello note and the other one going...
Well, that didn't happen back then. That happened in the intro. It didn't happen.
Burn.
Now let's have some silence
Sorry
for
for
a
being
minute.
such an idiot.
In the dark and early hours of a morning in the winter of 1902, a scream pierced the peaceful slumber of those sleeping on Royal Street. And these people, they were used to noise and parties because they were used to drunken shouting and laughter because this was the home of a man who hosted parties regularly, where the scream. We're done with the sound effects, actually.
Okay.
Just at the beginning. I just wanted it right there at the beginning.
I'll stop.
These people. Okay.
Sorry, that was the last one.
That's all right. Are you ready?
No.
This scream sounded different. It was clearly the sound of someone in distress, and it was followed by a thud. The sound of something that had fallen. So neighbors ran from their homes and found a young woman on the pavement below the second-floor balcony on 1039 Royal Street. She was barely clinging to life. Her dress was torn, and she was covered in blood. And there was a wound on her neck. The men in the street rushed to her side and asked, "What in God's name happened? Did someone throw you from the balcony?" gesturing above. And her story became a major part of Louisiana vampire lore. Is the story true? Let's discuss the legend of the vampire Saint Germain. So the young woman was rushed to the hospital where she was met by detectives, and she told the detectives what happened. And the neighbors confirmed it. There had been a party that night, a lavish party, a grand party. And when the party got down to the last few guests, she lingered behind.
Romantic, perhaps.
A little bit. I think she thought something was going to happen. Rumors have it that she perhaps was a woman of a certain profession. No shame. But the last guest left, and her host invited her upstairs. When they got up there, he suddenly grabbed her and pulled her toward him with the strength of a much larger man than he was. He was of slight build, but his power over her made no sense, due to his frame. And then, as he held her in an impossibly strong grip, he bit her neck. She felt herself weakening. He was sucking the blood from her body. But then there was a knock at the door and it distracted him and he let her go. So she ran towards her only exit, the second-floor balcony, and threw herself to the floor below, screaming. Her attacker, as I already said, is a man well known in the social circles of Louisiana, the Count Saint Germain. That was what he was known by, or at least one of the names he was known by. And if the stories are true, he may still be using that name today. More than 100 years later. Now let's go back to that woman on the pavement. The man she had gone home with that night was a little bit new to New Orleans society. He was known as Jacque St. Germain. He had arrived in the city about a year before this event, claiming to be from France. He also claimed to be the descendant of a famous French nobleman, and he had a painting of this nobleman displayed in his foyer or parlor somewhere in his home. He was charming. He was cultured. He spoke every language you could imagine. He was also super chill. He was a great conversationalist.
Sounds like
And
it.
just super down for broing out,
He was a bro, and he was also a total ladies' man. Everyone liked being around him. He would entertain you, and you would leave his parties fed, because he would host these lavish parties with tons of just fantastic food. You would leave fed and satiated and just feeling a glow from being in his presence. He also appeared to be about 45 years old. Although he tongue-in-cheek claimed to be 300 to 400 years old. Everyone thought he was joking. But he spoke of historical events with the accuracy of someone who was there. He also had money. A lot of money, enough money to buy the house on Royal Street where he started throwing his lavish parties. Exceptional wine. Everyone talked about the wine he served. Guests were elated. They were satisfied.
We'd be there for the wine.
Well,
And the chill company.
Very chill. One thing guests noticed was that he never ate a bite of food at any of these parties. They only saw him drink wine from his chalice.
I mean, me being who I am, I would find that incredibly annoying.
I'd be please eat. Well, it did say, I didn't put this in my report, but it did say that when people said, "Why aren't you eating?" he always claimed to have a sensitivity to food. He was like, oh, that bothers, but I want you to enjoy it, but it bothers me. It doesn't do. I already ate. He would either claim he had already eaten or claim to have a sensitivity to certain types of food. Like whatever was being served, whatever fancy thing he was serving, he claimed to. Because he didn't just serve like normal food. It wasn't like a hot dog and burgers party in 1902 New Orleans. He served fancy, like gigantic meals of like kind of exotic foods.
He's like, I've only provided food that bothers me.
Yeah, I can't eat it, but I want you to. So he was just considered like so dynamic. Just one of those people, everyone wanted to be around him. Everyone wanted to get to know him. And he was one of those people that made you feel special in his presence. You either were super entertained or you felt just like he was fascinated with you. That's how people left his presence. But in retrospect, people noticed certain things. He was never seen during the day. He discussed historical events from decades or even centuries before with just such a knowledge that it was like he had been there. And he actually claimed when people would say to him, wow, you know so much. Were you there? He always would say, matter of fact, I was. Or yes, I was. I was there. And everyone just thought he was joking. It was very tongue in cheek, but he never said, no, I just know about it. He always said, I was there. He claimed to be from France, but there were a ton of people from France in New Orleans at this time and in Louisiana in general, and nobody confirmed his identity or knew who he was or knew his family. He just knew everything about science, culture, art. He knew everything. The night the woman fell from his balcony, so after the police had been at the hospital with the woman who claimed to be attacked by this man, they went to his home. There's two different accounts. In one account, he answered the door and they said, would you please come down to the station and talk to us about this event? And he agreed, but then never came to the station. And then when they went to search for him, he was gone. In the other version, which was more commonly reported, the police interviewed the lady at the hospital, went to his home, and he was gone, vanished without a trace. Nowhere to be found. But what he left behind told them a story that has fed the legend of the vampire of St. Germain. First of all, there was no food anywhere in the house. Nothing in the kitchen, nothing in the pantry, despite having thrown lavish parties full of food. There was not a trace of food to be found. But there were bottles, many bottles, which at first glance, the police thought, oh, look at all the wine he collected. But when they opened the bottles and examined the contents, they were not wine. They were blood, or at least a tonic that was largely made of blood, some sort of mixture that heavily had a lot of blood. And remember, at his parties, he would just sit with his chalice full of whatever the guest thought was red wine and sip slowly. Mm-hmm. And the closets were full of clothing from different time periods, not modern clothing. Much of the clothing seemed to be stained with blood. And Jacque St. Germain was never seen again. Or was he? To answer this question, we're going to go back in time. Yes. So I'm going to tell you about another man. You remember the picture? That portrait that I told you that Jacque St. Germain had hanging in his foyer? It was of a legendary man called the Comte de Saint-Germain. I looked up how to pronounce it, and I might have done about like a 50% accuracy right there.
I think you nailed it.
I'm going to call him the Count of Saint Germain from now on. So Jacque de Saint Germain was the one in New Orleans. I'm telling you about who Jacques said was his ancestor, the Count de Saint Germain. But the portrait, it wasn't a photo. The portrait of this man looked so much like Jacque de Saint Germain that people kind of tongue-in-cheek speculated, well, that's not your ancestor. That's you. That's got to be you, right? He never, ever denied it when people asked him if that was him. But he also never confirmed it.
Since he seems to never, like, dispel these, like people being like, were you there? Mm-hmm. But that's you. And he never, like, disputes it.
Yeah.
Are vampires not allowed to lie?
I think they are. I think maybe they just get a kick out of people aren't going to believe it. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. True. I mean, we're not even completely sure this man was a vampire.
Wait, it depends on which vampire rule book you're reading from.
You're right.
I'm reading from the only one we should read from, Anne Rule's book of... Wait, damn it. Anne Rice is the vampire author. Forget I said that. I was going to say Anne Rule's Book of Rules.
I was like, what?
You didn't know this about Anne Rule. She didn't just write a biography about Ted Bundy. She wrote one about vampires. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about the Comte de Saint-Germain. De Saint-Germain. The Count of Saint Germain.
Did I tell you, sorry, about...
That's right.
I think I've told you guys this, about the time that Jordan and I were in France and we were asking the hotel staff where we should go eat. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, you go to Louisiana. And we were like, what? And they were like, oh, sorry. Rue de Saint Germain.
Ooh, it might be named after this count.
It was just funny because we just didn't understand their properly pronounced French. And they were like, oh, let me say it like an
American.
idiot.
Let's pronounce it for these Americans. No, but when I went to England and the very, very long time ago when I was in my 20s with my theater group, and the guy goes, "Are you here for the theater?" And I go, "I'm sorry, what? Are you here for the theater?" I go, I'm so sorry, what? I just don't understand. "Oh, I'm sorry. Are you here for the theater?" And I go, "Oh, no. Before he said that, I go, "For the fiesta?" Because you go to the theater? And I was like, "For the..." He goes, "Theater." And I was like, yes, sorry.
Shit.
Okay, so let's get back on track. Sometime around 1710, so early 18th century, a man appeared in the court of King Louis the 15th of France. X5 is 15, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then I say this with confidence. It was definitely the court of King Louis the 15th of France.
Wait, did it say X5 or XV?
XV.
There you go.
Okay, is that 15? Did I say X5 a
Yeah.
minute ago?
Yeah.
Because I was confident in that V was 5.
Yeah.
It is.
Now, rumors of this man in England had already been circulating. He had apparently been arrested as a spy in England and had been let go. And no one knew why he had been let go until later they speculated that he might have been a vampire and used his trance abilities to get people to let him go. But the king, who was actually named, or the prince at the time in England, was a Prince Charles, was super, super interested in him and was like, "Bring this guy to court. I want to meet him." But he had already left and gone to France. So I'm going to tell you about him. He called himself the Comte de Saint-Germain, or the Count of Saint Germain, and from the moment he walked through the doors of King Louis XV's court, the people around him noticed something they could not quite explain. This man did not age. Witnesses who encountered him in 1710s described a man who was about 45, and then witnesses who encountered the exact same man 50 years later said he was about 45. There was a particular countess, I believe she was a German countess named the Countess of von Gregor, who approached him in 1760, and she asked if he was the son or even grandson of the Count Saint Germain, who she had met in 1710 when she was a very young woman. He responded, "No, madam, it is I who entertained you in 1710. And she said, "Impossible. This is impossible. You have not aged." And he replied, "Madam, I am much older than I look." He spoke every major European language with very little trace. Some people said without an accent. Other people said with only a minor noticeable accent. He discussed events centuries old with someone who could only have been present at the event. He was also a musician. If you go to the Wikipedia page of the Count of Saint Germain, there is a page and a half of musical works that he is credited as composing. So he was a violinist and he was a composer. He had a huge catalog of music. He was also a painter. He was an alchemist. And this really interested the nobility, because you guys know what alchemy is? You do?
I think so. It, messing with chemicals and stuff.
Like metals and gems. Okay. So it's kind of like chemistry mixed with, it's weird because it's kind of a mixture of chemistry and philosophy.
Okay.
Like the Philosopher's Stone was considered an alchemy thing. And he actually is famous for creating the original Philosopher's Stone. But in the court of Louis XV, he said that he could take diamonds, a bunch of small diamonds and turned them into a larger diamond. And so King Louis XV, did I say 14th? I meant 15th. King Louis XV was like, well, I have this really big diamond, but it has a flaw. And the Count of St. Germain said, if you give me that diamond to give me a couple of months, I can remove the flaw using my alchemy and make it worth much more. So the king gave it to him.
Okay.
And he did it. He brought it back like a month later, and then they had it valued. The jewel expert, whatever you call those guys, the gemologist or whatever, was like, this is absolutely the same diamond. Every property about it is the same except for that flaw is removed. And it went from it quintupled the value. Like when you have a flawless diamond that big. He was really into dyes. And so he was like, King Louis, I found this new way of dyeing fabrics. If you let me set up a laboratory, I'll show you how to dye these fabrics. So King Louis is like, okay, let's set this up. He's like, we're going to make these fabrics so expensive. They'll only be from France, and it's going to bring the French people so much money. But King Louis was definitely more interested in the gemology or like turning metals into precious metals. He would take metals and turn them into more precious metals. Voltaire wrote about him. Casanova wrote about him. And a lot of people say that what Voltaire wrote was almost disparaging, but I didn't read it as such. I read it more as Voltaire was like, he's clearly a con man. There's no way someone can be this experienced and not be a con man. And Casanova it said the same thing. Like, Giacomo Casanova was like that philosopher and
lover,
also like a big
gross
ladies man.
Yeah.
But Casanova said he had a way with the ladies, but the Count of St. Germain himself said that he had never actually been with a woman or even a substitute for a woman, which is kind of strange. But he socialized with women. He just never had like a wife or girlfriend. Just like St. Germain of New Orleans, he never ate, not once. People noted it. In fact, Voltaire, I think it was Voltaire, wrote that he spent an entire evening with him and noticed that the Count did not put a single parcel of food in his mouth. It was notable. He just sat, he watched, he spoke, he entertained people. He went kind of from court to court to court. And late in the 1700s, he went to Germany and was in the court of Prince Hesse-Kassel. In 1784, he officially died in Germany. There is a grave. There is a record of his death. So there we have it. End of story. Clearly he's not a vampire. He died. Except he kept appearing. He was seen at Marie Antoinette's beheading in 1793. And other people said that Marie Antoinette actually counseled with him before her death, and he told her it was going to happen.
Whoa.
Helena Blavatsky claims to meet him, and that he gave her secret documents. And it was these documents that she used.
She cannot be trusted, though.
Well, listen to this. She used these. She was a co-founder of Theosophy, and she was also huge in the spiritualist movement. Mm-hmm. She used the documents for the Theosophy movement. And it was always the same
book,
description.
Secret Doctrine.
It was always the same description. Always 45, always charming, and always disappearing before people could really be like, hey, why are you not older and the rest of us are? People would start to notice it and draw attention to it, and then he'd disappear. So when in 1902, he showed up in New Orleans calling himself Jacque St. Germain, and he claimed to be a descendant from the original Count, and people noticed that the resemblance ran in the family, a few people took notice. Was he a descendant, or was he the same man? Was he walking in the same century using the same name? So what exactly is St. Germain? Researchers and historians who have followed the legend have a few possibilities, a few theories laid out. Who is this person? So theory 1, he's a vampire. That's kind of actually what I think. I think he's a vampire. He's a true immortal who requires human blood to survive. He won't age, and he's been doing so since before the American Revolution. And when I told you guys earlier that I almost wanted to turn this into a full episode because there was so much, he apparently was part of the American Revolution. He was when they were deciding to sign the Declaration of Independence, and there was a moment of hesitation, they said that there was an unknown man who stood up and gave a fervorous speech, and then John Hancock went up and signed his name, with fervor. And then when they all turned around and then a bunch of people went up and signed, and they all turned around to thank the man. They couldn't figure out who it was. And someone said, well, no, someone just walked out of here. But it was like a locked room. So they were like, who was it? How did they get in? And I did not verify this, but that was told in some of the accounts, like that he was at the signing of the Declaration of Independence. He told, he predicted Hitler's rise. He said a man will come into Germany wearing an ancient symbol, and he will be remembered. It will be a 6-year war. He'll be remembered, but not for anything good, because he's going to bring so much destruction and shame on Germany.
Maybe time travel is real.
Could be time travel, or he could just be a vampire who knew the future. Mm-hmm. Okay, so second theory is a little bit stranger even than a vampire. So historical accounts describe the Count as a devoted alchemist, right? He was the creator of the Philosopher's Stone, which is a legendary substance said to grant immortal life, as we know from Harry Potter, right?
That's right.
So they're saying he's a human being who unlocked something he was never supposed to find, and he has been able to sustain himself across the centuries through alchemy.
But if he found it, why was he not supposed to find it?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. But what did they use as fuel? The alchemy, blood. So is an immortal who uses alchemy to stay alive, could we just say that is also a vampire? Are vampires alchemists, and are alchemists vampires? I mean, alchemists who have found the fountain of youth. Mm-hmm. There's also a theory that he is what is known as the wandering Jew, or a man called Cartophilus, or Ahasuerus.
You said that correct.
Did you practice that? Wow.
I did practice it, but you can't tell because I got stage fright. So I'm going to call him the first name I said, which is Cartophilus. So allegedly, this was a man who was in Pilate's court who taunted Jesus as Jesus was carrying the cross to the crucifixion. And according to legend, he said, "Faster, Jesus, faster. Why tarriest thou?" Or, which means like, hey, go faster, Jesus. Why are you taking so long? Mm-hmm. And apparently Jesus turned to him and replied, "I go, but thou shalt tarry until I come again." And so they're saying that he was cursed to live and to never die until the second coming, which honestly to me does not sound very Christ-like. I actually don't think it's something Jesus would do, but maybe. But, that's one of the legends. Theory 3, and this is kind of a cool one, that he's never left New Orleans. He's a vampire. Where did he go? He stayed in New Orleans. He just left that mansion and found himself he doesn't need anything but blood to survive. It would be easy for him to hole up anywhere.
Just found a cute little studio.
Yeah, or just a little dark alley somewhere, a crypt.
Yeah.
A cute little crypt. So
cemetery number 1.
Is he a man who has survived for hundreds of years by becoming invisible, sliding in and out of identities, just staying 45 forever? Kind of like the way people change their clothes. He tries on a new personality, comes and does it for a few years, sort of like the Cullens of Twilight fame.
Yeah, I think his best move was to ditch the tradition of carrying that painting of himself around from 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but maybe it's if he's doing this forever and ever. Okay, so there was an accounting of him in the 1700s, and then kind of a few things here and there, but only occasionally. Maybe he's it doesn't matter. I can't be killed. I'm going to just lay it out there for people that I am this Count, and not deny it, and just see what happens. And then, when they come for him, he's okay, I'm out. He waits a while longer. Anne Rice, not Anne Rule, wrote Interview with the Vampire in 1973. It is set in New Orleans. Her protagonist is a French-connected, eternally youthful vampire who's unable to escape his body, his handsome body.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Is Brad Pitt the Count de Saint Germain? Oh, another thing is he was described as being very pale with dark hair.
Oh, Tom Cruise.
Well, vampire.
Well, Tom Cruise had dark hair. Brad Pitt had kind of blondish hair.
But when we think of a vampire, we think of pale and dark hair. But yes, you are right. Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, both. Either one. Yeah, so anyway, 300, 400 years? What do you think? I mostly want to know, who could he be today? Like we talked about how maybe...
well, and he keeps showing up in like historically significant times, eras, events.
Could he be Rasputin? Is something I was wondering. Could he have been Rasputin?
Rasputin has a lore from his childhood to his rise with the czars and the czarina. Right.
Time periods don't overlap. I mean, he could go anywhere. He could adopt any accent, do anything.
Yeah, but like there's like his his childhood family claims Rasputin.
As they would. If he was not a vampire. A vampire. Well, in New Orleans today, there's an organization called NOVA. It's the New Orleans Vampire Association. It has 3,000 members. And they do actually good things. They like feed the homeless and stuff like that. But they have said that there are around 100 individuals in New Orleans that claim that they require blood to live, that claim to be vampires.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Vampire Cafe in New Orleans, it's pretty fun.
I don't know. He could be anywhere. Like if this is real, if the Count of St. Germain is real, he could be running around anywhere. Doing whatever. I do think it's interesting, though, that in all of the like European lore in the 1700s, if he was indeed a vampire, that there were no reports of a survivor. And it could just be that was the one weird thing, that one girl jumping from the balcony that survived him. That really, I mean, vampires might be so good at what they do that there just are no survivors. But that's it.
Yeah.
That's the story of the Jacque St. Germain, the vampire of New Orleans. You can go to his house on the corner of Ursuline and Royal. And we should.
So it looks like that might be the portrait.
That is the portrait.
Black and white one.
Mm-hmm. That is the portrait. You can send it to Emily.
Oh, yeah. Send it.
That is the portrait.
Author Lynn Gibson. People are saying maybe he is.
Ooh. And then Haley.
I'm next.
What are you going to tell us?
All right.
But I'd love to see that picture of author Lynn Gibson, because I Googled who could be the Count of St. Germain today, and it was like, ooh, who knows? Actually, he might have come up in my search. I think that guy did come up in my search. Yeah.
And it looks like there's a couple other people that they're like, hey, maybe this guy. Just sending it to the sister chat at me.
Thanks, I got it.
And the next photo I just sent, oh,
it does really look like him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where's Lynn Gibson now?
Who is Lynn Gibson?
I don't know.
Well, maybe we'll never know.
But I would say
it's for another time.
There was like someone did go back and check property records for New Orleans, and there was 2 St. Germains that moved to New Orleans, both of them Jacque St. Germains, one in like 1895 and the other one like in 1898, where it said that he first made his appearance in 1902 or 1901, I guess, 1901. There were actually property records that aligned with it. But I don't know, pretty interesting.
I did just misspeak. The author of a vampire book is Lynn Gibson, that's not the name of the man that you sent me a picture of. You can cut that out.
Oh. Maybe I sent you a photo of author Lynn Gibson, who wrote a vampire story.
No, you sent me a picture of the Comte de Saint-Germain.
And in our sister chat, I also sent the next one.
Yeah, you sent it, and it has that man that looks like him, and underneath it talks about author Lynn Gibson, who's a woman that wrote vampire books.
Oh, I see. Lynn Gibson is not the photo of the man.
Guess what? We both misspoke.
How dare you?
All right.
That guy is handsome, though. The guy that they're saying might be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good-looking guy. Also, if could you have like more of an influence on fashion and maybe not make people wear weird white powder wigs? Count de Saint Germain. Why did anyone ever think that was a good idea?
I bet you that he's responsible for getting rid of that. He was like, I've lived before and after this, and this is nonsense.
Well, was he responsible for the super low-cut jean trend of the early aughts? Because no thank you.
No.
I think it's coming back, though. I hate it.
It
I don't
is
have to
coming
do
back.
It.
I've
I
seen
can wear
it.
whatever I want.
There's a few gals wearing those hip jeans, and I'm just like, I'm going to stick with my mid-rise to high-rise.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we?
Haley, what do you got us? Where are you taking us in New Orleans? To the swamps? To the bayous? To the forests?
Laissez les bon temps roulant, meaning let the good times roll.
Did you want me to do some jazz music right there?
No. Deep in the swamps of Louisiana, where the water is still and the moss hangs low, you might feel like you're being watched. You might even hear your name being called from the dark. Beware of Pere Malfait. He might be hoping you lose your way.
Ooh.
Pere Malfait, also called Cajun Boogeyman. Tall, humanoid, lurks in the shadows. Glowing eyes.
Ooh, creepy.
Long limbs.
Creepier.
Keeps to the swamps and the bayous. Careful about wandering alone. They can mimic others' voices. Or maybe they'll just call your name. Abilities we know other cryptids possess.
Oh, disappearing.
Mimicking others' voices.
Oh,
or
mimicking.
calling your name.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying new ones that you hadn't mentioned yet.
I paused. Super weird right there.
Flying.
So that miscommunication is
Eating people.
totally understandable. Pere Malfait seems to be rooted in Cajun and Creole folklore, as we have already discussed. So this folklore could come from French boogeyman traditions or used to control kids from wandering in the swamp and being eaten by an alligator. A few examples of things contributing to Pere Malfait: hunters hearing footsteps in the water with no visible source. As we've already discussed, hearing your name called. And figures just out of sight.
Oh, creepy.
What is the Pere Malfait? Alligators? Birds?
No, because you said it was man-like. You said it was
Wild
humanoid.
boar?
Alligators are not humanoid, although I could see how their eyes would glow.
Is it your fear? Plus the isolation of the swamp? Or is it stories growing over time? Whatever the explanation may be, we have to appreciate the rich culture of Cajun and Creole traditions. And I can't wait till we go to New Orleans. Oh!
Me too. Saxophone jazz music.
Oh, yeah.
Haley, that's creepy.
I know.
Oh. I do think so many of these legends are like, how do we keep the kids? How do we keep the kids in bed at night? How do we keep these teens from sneaking out?
Oh, and a translation for Pere Malfait is bad dad.
Oh.
Okay.
That's funny. Nice. I loved your accompaniment music.
Sound effects, thank you.
Yeah, it's very nice. Well, nice job.
And back at you both.
Thank you.
Back rack to all of you.
Back rack.
I wondered if
I
real quick, totally not Louisiana cryptid related, but our last FUF, we meant to have Emily tell us about an experience that she had, and then we totally forgot. Would you tell us? Because you still have not. We don't know anything.
Oh, yes. I just can't remember what it said. I remember I told you guys that, like, I tried that. Nettie sent us a TikTok where this woman used a ghost. What was it called?
Ghost Tube. The Ghost Tube app?
Yeah, the Ghost Tube app on her cat. And that it was like, kind of uncanny. Like the cat was communicating thoughts through this app. So Nettie wanted us to try it. So I tried it with Bandit. And I honestly cannot remember what it was that he said.
Oh, dang. Well, you should have it. Like, it keeps a record of like the last 18 words.
Oh, does
even
it?
if you without a paid subscription, it keeps a
How do you
record of like
see?
18 to 20 words. Go into the app and
He
then
was like, I love you.
I'll have to open it to remember how to do it.
Well, mine's saying in the dark. right now.
Ooh. To your right. Mine's saying to your right. It's Haley. Haley's a cryptid.
You're welcome.
So if you go to like the...
I think it's... Okay, I think you go to the...
Oh, it's the
to the
book.
book.
Hit the book on the bottom.
Yeah, okay. So when I tried it I banned it, supposedly. I held it next to Bandit. And Oliver was next to me. And it said, open it. And then it said, please go. And then Bandit kept looking at the door and looking at his leash. It said, please go.
Oh. He was trying to...
Let's go for a walk.
And then it said, what are you doing here? And then it said, like, hello, watch us. She can't stay. Please listen.
Did someone come in?
And that's it.
Well, I tried it on some deer in my yard. I just remembered.
Oh, what'd they say?
Well, the first thing they said when I came out, because they were eating my lilacs, and I had already shooed them away from my lilacs once, and I came out again. I was like, you guys! And it goes, please leave.
Or was that what you were thinking?
I think it was what the deer were thinking. They were like, not you again. We're trying to eat these lilacs. I just would like
delicious snack.
My lilac buds to bloom. Lilac are supposed to be deer resistant, but the little brand new buds the deer will eat, and that's what they're doing.
Turkeys.
So get out of here, guys.
Get on out of here.
Thanks for sharing. I was so curious about that.
Yeah, well,
Who do
now
we
you know.
Yeah. Did you try it on your dogs yet?
No.
Okay, Haley, that's your homework assignment, amongst many others.
And listeners, it's also your homework assignment.
Yes.
Use a ghost app on your pets.
Yeah, do you have the Ghost Tube app? Are you communicating with your pet now through the Ghost Tube app?
Go to
Email
GhostTube.
us
It might
at
work.
thespookydarlings@gmail.com.
Yeah. Also, we were just talking. You can email us your stories like written and we'll read them. Feel free. Also, if you feel more comfortable telling us your ghost story in like a voice memo, send us a voice memo. We might play your voice memo. If it's like intelligible enough and the sound quality is good enough, we can play it on the pod. And if not, we can transcribe it and read it. Mm-hmm. And as you've heard, we basically have professional level acting chops from Haley.
You're welcome.
So don't you worry. Like your story will be read with passion.
Yes.
For sure.
All right. I think you're taking us out. Hey.
All right. Thank you for listening. And again, we are the Spooky Darlings. You can find us on our social media at the Spooky Darlings Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. And please tell us your spooky story, emailing us at thespookydarlings@gmail.com. And if you could just take a quick second, click that follow button, and we would love a 5-star rating. And that helps us write us a review. We're starting to read those on our follow-up Fridays. Mm-hmm. And as always, stay spooky.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
5 stars.
5 vampires. 5 bites.
Yes. 5 Rougarou. 5 bad dads. 5 Pere Malfaits or Pere Malfaits. 5 bad dads.
That vampire.
5 objects outside your door.
Nettie, that vampire story. Wow.
Nuts, huh?
Yeah.
You can see why I was thinking about turning it into a full episode, because there's a lot about the count, and there's tons of interactions where people are like, I interacted with him. Uh-huh. And like the guy that did the I am movement in like the 60s said that he got his philosophy from the Count of Saint Germain.
You guys, when I tried to type how many toe pads does a wolf have, it suggested, does a woman have? And I'm like, what?
Well, how many does a woman have?
That's my next query. A wolf has 4 main toe pads.
You were right. Yeah, but a werewolf.
Get that out of here.
I didn't ask how many a werewolf have. How many toe pads does a woman have?
Because I was thinking they would hold up their front paws and go.
Yeah.
That's 12.
Oh,
6.
I don't know how wolves count. I didn't realize that's how they say it.
Well, I don't know either. I was making it up, Haley. It were satire. It were pretense.
All right.
5 toe pads. Before we disappear into the shadows, don't forget, we're still sending out vinyl stickers. Leave us a rating and review and email us proof to thespookydarlings@gmail.com, along with your mailing address, and we'll send you some spooky snail mail while supplies last. And if your heart is still mourning that tote bag, may we gently tempt your way toward our merch store at thespookydarlings.printful.me. Treat yourself. You deserve it. Thanks for listening. And as always, stay spooky.